Kicking things off, we're going to be unboxing giant resin bases. They're going to pair up with the Portrait of Pirates figures that we unboxed earlier this week. Now, these are gigantic in size, and I got them for a really good deal. And these are just some of the really cool things you can do to really bring your Portrait of Pirate figures to life. Pulling out Doflamingo's giant resin base first. This thing is super heavy, so be careful when unboxing it. Try not to grab any of the buildings or rubble and try to lift from the smoke or the underbase itself. But you can see just how big of a crevice that leaves, and Doflamingo is going to slot a little bit finagly in here. I struggled a lot with putting him inside of his base, so he is by far the worst one to put in, but you just kind of have to twist and turn, and eventually he will snap right in. And these are just representing of his threads. We didn't end up using this in the assembly, but you can use it if you want. I just didn't end up using it because it was a lot of extra effort and I didn't want to break the statue. Next piece up, we have the Pika faceplate. Now this did come broken a little bit. Just grab some super glue, gel or liquid, and just go ahead and stick that back on. Wait a couple seconds for the glue to grab and you're all set. Next up, we have Pika's head itself. And you'll see there is a key magnet slot in the front. That's where that big cross section will go. A lot of good texturing, and I like the sand and the overall size of this piece. Looks really good. No other broken pieces other than that. And he does slot in weirdly underneath Doflamingo's base, but his coat will actually keep him plugged in down. So you'll have to mess with that a little bit. Next up, we have giant thread pieces that will key into the back smoke of the base. And these overall look really good. I like the rubble and destruction that they're representing. Huge magnet and key at the bottom so they don't move, and they feel pretty well supported. And I love the gradient from the black to purple to white with this almost pearlescent shiny paint. And they key in right here just on the back of the base. Next up, we just have a couple of broken rubble pieces. These look really good as well. Nothing to write home about just overall because they are rubble, but they do have nice magnets and they key in quite easily. They'll key in right here. Just be mindful of Doflamingo's coat. We have another thread piece with the same pearlescent gradient from black to purple to pinkish white, with some extra rubble on it as well. You can see how shiny they really are when the light's on them. And the rubble is glued in so it will not come loose. And this thread will just key in right below the building we just put in. Next up, we have two of Pika's fingers. Now this also goes underneath him. I did not expect this one to be as difficult as it was to put in, but I had to almost undo everything to slide that in underneath Pika, but we got it in anyway. Next up, we have another thread with the same gradient and magnet, and it keys in right next to the others. Then we have another thread. There are very many of them. So these also have the same rubble and the nice gradient. Keys in right through the back. This one was a little bit harder to go in because it goes in at a specific angle, but just kind of take your time with it. Don't force it and it'll go right in. Then we have a couple of loose pieces of rubble that will just key in with simple magnets. This one goes behind Doflamingo, so probably try to do this one beforehand, before you put him in, but I could fit my hand in there and get it keyed in. This is a big tower piece that will also key in via a magnet. Overall, good texturing and good paint. I like the blue border on all the brickwork, and I like the cross pattern at the top. This keys in behind him as well. You can kind of bend Doflamingo forward and kind of twist this into place, but I would recommend just pulling out Doflamingo and getting all of these done beforehand. But now we're moving on to Gear 4, Luffy's base. And he is a lot different to unbox. His base is actually last. So we're gonna go ahead and pull out all of his extra accessories as we see them. So you'll see he has the same amount of broken rubble pieces as well. Bunch of broken buildings, all with their own color schemes and texture work. And this big spike piece, that's the top of a tower. Good texturing on this piece as well. Even more broken rubble and buildings, all just as well painted as the last. Overall, I really enjoy the studio's quality. Nothing came super broken. And here you can see the gigantic all one piece that is Luffy's base. I couldn't even unbox this thing on camera. It wouldn't fit where the camera was. As you can see, it is very tall. It is all one slab of resin. Now Luffy comes with a replacement peg piece that will go, and it's going to be the exact same as the one on his actual figure. This one just has a big key notch and peg at the bottom to keep him secure. Go ahead and put on the buildings we unboxed earlier. They key in simply just on his big clouds with their own magnets. His assembly was a lot more straightforward than Doflamingo's was. Everything was easy to get to. All you're doing is just matching notches. Now this one was a little bit harder to get in. I had to bend his effect piece back a little bit, but other than that, all of them just really kind of clicked in and had no issue. Overall, I'm really impressed with how this actually looks. I was already in love with their figures before I put these bases on, but once you get a really big resin foundation, these things just come to life. They become so much bigger with so much more aura than what they have originally. You know, Doflamingo with all of his threads just feels so much more menacing than just his Portrait of Pirates figure. You know, Pika being represented in the base, as well as all the buildings in the Dressrosa arc. You know, Luffy with all of his clouds, this huge big effect piece. You know, to me, it just feels so much more premium. It feels just like as if they were a resin to begin with. It really feels like they were meant and designed to be together from the start. I'm super impressed with how Gravity Studios incorporated the original Portrait of Pirates figures into this massive base. Everything just feels so carefully crafted and so meticulous that they really are just fantastic pieces. If you can find them, definitely pick them up.